Hello friends and welcome to another episode of GM Magic. My name is Joshua Crisp and today we're going to be talking about pacing. Credits. What is pacing? Pacing is the art of making sure that your game feels like a satisfying story. And there are lots of really cool tricks that you can steal from the wealth of storytelling experience out there in human history. I think the most important thing that you control as a GM is the pace of your game. That tells the players when it is time to relax and when it's time to knuckle down and get things done. And all of that comes from cues that you, the GM, give them. This brings us to the two types of storytelling, showing and telling. Telling is the kind of storytelling that Shakespeare did. A character steps onto the stage with minimal subtext and says exactly what they're thinking. I am sad, Horatio. Why are you sad? Let me tell you why I am sad. What is going on in the character's mind is not hidden. Hamlet has great big soliloquies telling the audience exactly what his thought processes are. And this is borne out by his actions, but everybody knows he tells the audience. And the reason for that is that Shakespeare was working with actors in minimal costumes, often no set, on a blank stage. He had to tell the audience exactly what was going on. When you're writing a book, however, you have an infinite budget. Your words can bring anything you want to life. Same thing if you're making a movie or a cartoon. Cartoons are brilliant for this. You can have anything happen and you can change perspective really interestingly, which means you don't have to focus on the telling so much because you can focus on the showing. You can show various aspects. A glint of light on a broken bottle and a shape moving through the darkness lets you know that there is a light source somewhere without the camera, and therefore the narrator, ever having to explicitly mention it. And this is really useful. This type of storytelling is fantastic for engrossing an audience. If you're watching a film or a play or reading a book, if there are little fragments, clues that are given to you about your scenario or the relationships between two characters or what one character is thinking or feeling, then you get to interact with the narrative in a way that you otherwise wouldn't. You get to piece these things together, build a picture of the whole world in your mind, and you feel like you're a part of the story. This is good storytelling for those mediums. So why is it bad storytelling for D&D? Well, because for D&D, you're not doing it for an audience. You're not doing it for a reader. You're doing it for your players. And your players get to interact with the story by default. That's part of the deal. That's what it means to play D&D. You have a chance to interact with and control the narrative. So if your GM is spending a lot of time showing you things instead of simply telling you, you're going to spend a lot of time asking the GM for relevant information. You're going to ask follow-up questions because you want to know things and the GM is hiding them to try and be artful. Pacing is broadly about the management of information between the GM and the players. You are the GM, you have all the information. You know everything about the world. And if you don't know something, you can make it up, and then it is a truth about the world. And so showing and telling as different storytelling types are a vehicle by which you convey that information to the players, and they change the pace of your game. Anytime you've ever said, the night passes uneventfully, you are telling the story. You're not showing the players how soft their duvets are or how uninterrupted their sleep is. You're not describing the stars passing in the skies above them. You're simply cutting to the next morning because it's the right choice. Because at that point, the story of them camping down for the night, wherever they are, is over, and the next dramatic beat happens the next day. If you delay that dramatic beat, you're not adding anything to your session but time. Same thing for long voyages or journeying through the wilderness. If the players are going to have an interaction on the ship, then they have that interaction. As soon as it's done, the ship's going to arrive at its destination because the important bit of story that was going to happen on that ship, the interactions between the players, the fight they were going to have with a kraken, it's all happened. When that's done, the ship is over and we are moving on to the next phase of the story. And you do that by simply narrating. The ship pulls into port, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, It's what most of your job as a GM is. So what does showing look like in D&D? When should you do it? And what is its function? Showing in D&D is necessary when you're running a mystery, for example, when the players are specifically looking for pieces of the narrative, because the engagement that they're going to get from this session is in puzzling together exactly what is going on. What is the broader plot? Who is the mysterious stranger who keeps sending them notes? What is that smell that is everywhere in the city? All of these are clues which you drop into a party and you are showing them part of the story and asking them to come and help work out the rest of it. You obviously can't tell your players everything, or they may as well be reading a book. But you can't spend your time showing the players everything either, because that takes far too long and eliminates your ability to switch between telling and showing for moments of heightened tension and moments of relaxation in the pacing. I think fundamentally, your job as a GM is to tell the players exactly as much information as they need to make a decision about how to act in the world. And then when they decide what they want to do, then you can zoom in on those moments and show them a bit. As an example, if your players walk into a room, they need to know how big the room is, how lit the room is, what it's made of, and if there's anything in the room that might interest them. A bed, a chest, a dragon, 300 orcs, 30 to 50 wild feral hogs, right? These are all things that change that room. But you don't need to give them the orcs' names, and you certainly don't need to let them know exactly how the orcs are interacting with one another. That's information the players can request if they care about it. And let's say one of them does. You just say there's 200 orcs in a tiny room, packed in like sardines. And that's sufficient description. You have told the players all of the relevant information. One of your players then says, okay, well, are these orcs happy to be in this room? And you can decide if a skill check is necessary. And then you can start weaving in the showing part. Try and bring in aspects of a character's backstory or things that they've done before. Use this interaction that the player has chosen as an opportunity to describe more about their character without it being an information dump for the rest of the players. You could say, you remember your passage across the broken sea was in quarters that were about as cramped as this. You have some sympathy for these orcs. It must be very unpleasant being as pressed up as they were. And suddenly, the rest of the group knows something about this character. That's a trick. That's showing, not telling. You might get that in a book or a TV show or a film or indeed a play. And it's not like it doesn't have any place in Dungeons and Dragons. But I think you have to let the players tell you what aspects and what scenes they would like to be shown. Tell them the broad strokes of wherever they are, everything they need to know to start making an interaction. And then, based on what they choose to do, you can bring out the magic and try and weave in their actions into a broader narrative. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I've been Joshua Crisp, this has been GM Magic. If you have enjoyed this video, the best thing you can do is to send me a check for a large amount of money. But the second best thing you can do is to like, share, subscribe. It actually genuinely helps. It helps the videos rise in the algorithms. It's a kind of currency on which YouTube operates. So the best thing that you can do to help support this channel is to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and leave a comment. Speaking of leaving a comment, if you have a topic for suggestion for another future GM Magic video, something that you would like any insight on, please leave it in the comments section below. And if you'd like to join an active and growing community of D&D fans who are, I have to say, pretty great, then join the Discord, link below, for the War of Inheritance. If you have not seen it, be sure to check out my D&D stream. All the episodes are up on YouTube and you can watch us weekly, twitch.tv/CellpenGM. Until next time, keep rolling them dice. Bye-bye! Next week, if you would like to note something, or indeed join us on Discord, link below, where we have an active and growing community of D&D fans who will be happy to take all your money. You know you've got good pacing when it feels like no time has elapsed at the table. When all the combats were really satisfying, all the roleplay interactions were really satisfying. Satisfaction is what pacing is. Good pacing is satisfying. It feels good. when you are paced well. Pacing, pacing, pacing.